Welcome to the day after Saturday. I'm one of your hosts, Jackson Juzang.
I'm Chris Gupta.
Today we have a very special guest here with us, a Haverford alumni, Haverford College graduate of 2004, graduated in English major, like the path I'm on. Good stuff. He was a researcher and reporter for the ESPN Magazine, a reporter for the New York Rangers. He'd fill in for the New York Knicks and New York Jets in the 2010s. I'm really sorry about that. Nope, nope, not go next. And after 8 years with the USA Today, you went from being a writer to just being promoted to managing editor. So congratulations on that. It's a really
Thank
cool
you.
accomplishment. So
Thank you
yeah,
very much. Appreciate that.
yeah.
Yeah, so I think the best place to start is Haverford, because obviously it's a Haverford podcast. We have an alum on the pod. So can you talk a little bit about how you chose to come to Haverford?
Sure. I went first of all, I'm from New York City, and I was immediately I back then I was not the easiest of flyers. I've since gotten to be a much better traveler, but I think I wanted to be close to home, and so I sort of ripped the most of the United States off the sort of the possible lists of colleges, and I started looking around on the East Coast, and I think I quickly realized I wanted to be at a small liberal arts college, and I didn't know much about Haverford, and then I walked onto the campus and it felt like home. Honestly, I'd been to a few of the other ones, and not to say they weren't, but it was just sort of a feel. And also the honor code, the idea that I was sort of one of 1,000 or so students. It was just kind of a really interesting draw. And I it was close enough to home where you could take the train home. I didn't drive back then, but I really took to the Haverford ethos, I guess, is the way of putting it, and sort of the idea of like what a warm campus it was, and the draw of people coming together sort of like-minded in a way, surrounded by the honor code and surrounded by the sort of the way that campus operated. It felt very it felt like it fit with my values, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. And so that's
I
that's
think Haverford attracts good people in general, which is awesome. Something
Sometimes.
for the most part.
Yeah.
Um,
Did you know right away that you wanted to be in sports journalism and just be surrounded by sports in general?
No, I came into Haverford wanting to be a screenwriter. I knew I wanted to write creatively, and it was one of those things where I had to think about it a lot because I loved movies and I loved the idea of writing for them. And then I think I quickly realized that I would be eaten alive by Hollywood. It's the only way I can put it. So I turned to playwriting. There was a a professor that was visiting that I took a couple classes with, and I took to that a little bit. But um, what happened was my junior, yeah, my junior year. A friend of mine who I, talk sports with all the time. He was like, listen, like, sports and you were the managing editor of your high school newspaper. And, you've said like, and I came into college, like wanting to take a couple of years off from that, but I knew I wanted to write creatively. But he said, the guy who wrote the national sports column for what was the newspaper then, which was by College News, between us and Bryn Mawr, the national sports columnist has left. Do you want to try it out? And I was like, sure. And the first week I sat down in front of my computer and I wrote something. I don't even remember who it was about, but I want to say it was about Barry Bonds. I cannot remember,
We're
but
gonna
I
find
do.
it. We'll find it after the
Oh,
episode.
sure. Yeah. Yeah. You can find it. Those columns are somewhere and they are not great, but hey, it was I was a junior in college, didn't know what I was doing. But the first time I wrote one of those and submitted it, I thought, oh God, this is awesome. And I think there was a part of me that really honestly couldn't do the sort of artist life. I just wasn't going to take to it. So I thought, okay, well, this is a way to make money, which is ironic because journalists don't really make a lot of money. So um, that was the beginning. I really was just like, wow, like this is really cool. And I went down that road, and I loved Entertainment Weekly, so I wanted to be an entertainment journalist. And so actually, one of my classmates saw me holding. I'd gone to the campus center and gotten my mail, and I had my Entertainment Weekly under my arm. She went, "Oh, my brother works there," and I ended up with an internship down the road for their website. So
Nice.
fate,
Was this,
fate
and
intervened.
you said this was your first, what year was this that you started like writing for the Bico College News?
That would be 2002. I guess would be the fall of 2002.
Okay, so were you declared,
sophomore.
yeah, your sophomore junior year, but were you declared an English major yet? Was that like the
Yes.
biggest reason? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. There was no journalism program, so I just kind of
Yeah,
knew it.
same thing, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a prerequisite for
I
for
guess,
journalism,
yeah.
I guess,
There
right?
was an inkling in me to maybe be a religion major because that department was awesome and the classes were really interesting. And I took to them and I was like, ooh, maybe I'll go that route. But I was very pragmatic. So I was like, oh no, I got to be an English major because that'll prove that I'm full in on writing.
It's a hot take. Yeah. Yeah. It was funny. I was just having a conversation with Professor Kim Benston, former President Kim Benston, the other day, and we were talking about like just how his essay writing style he kind of replicated almost after one of his professors from way back when he was a student in college. But I'm curious if there's any professors during your time at Haverford that you feel like influenced your writing the most today, or even throughout
Yeah.
your
Oh
sports
goodness.
journalism career.
Yeah, that's a great one. Oh goodness. There were a few. There's a professor who's no longer there who's also an alum who taught a movie course. He taught a course on movies, and he was incredible. I did an independent study with him, and he really pushed me to write about culture and to break down the sort of English major barrier in my head. He was like, I wrote my first sort of essay on whatever it was, and he wrote it, and it was like, where's your voice in this? Where's your passion? And so that really kind of blew my mind. I was like, oh yeah, like I can actually bring my voice to this. That was really influential. Richard Friedman, who's I think still a member
Dude,
of the
that's my guy, man. I was
yes,
just at
my
dinner
guy
with
too.
him. I was just at dinner with him like 2 nights ago.
Amazing. Please tell him I say hi. He may not
I
remember me, but
will.
we did. He was on leave for when I took. Now I'm a huge jazz person, so I took a jazz course with whoever the professor was who replaced him while he was on leave. And then when he came back, I asked if he would do an independent study with me, and I got to write about jazz for a whole semester, and he
Look at that.
really pushed me. It was the best, and we would have these conversations about it, and we would read my stuff and really kind of help me again get good habits in me about writing about music, which is a hard thing to do. And then Maud McInerney, who is I'm still in touch. I just had coffee with her, I think, a couple of years ago,
That's
and
awesome.
she's the best. I deliberately picked a thesis topic that would be something that I think she would be able to help with, so that I would get her as my thesis advisor, and it was really just terrific. And she's just an amazing uh, person, and she helped. I think the oral part of the thesis thing it taught me a lot about how to present and how to argue for your side, and that was something I wasn't used to. So it's kind of helped me come out of my shell
Yeah.
a little bit. Yeah,
Now, I don't want to turn this into the Friedman podcast, but I've been talking to him for the last I mean, really since the beginning of class, we've been talking about this whole concept of managing complexity. And then I've been thinking about that one every time I write an article for at
absolutely.
least the last 2 articles that we had wrote for the clerk. Um,
Yeah.
so that's been really cool. Friedman podcast, little minute and a half there. But yeah, just, kind of now moving on past, you graduating from Haverford and then you starting up with ESPN Magazine. I was actually reading those articles over the last couple of days, and those are some really funny articles. The Jason Sudeikis one in particular, very, it's very funny,
Ted
but
Lasso.
Dead Lasso type stuff. Um, but I was curious, just a little funny question, but what's the best non-athlete, in your opinion, actually, out of all those non-athletes that you've interviewed, who's the best athlete? Actually, you may have had to do articles for all of them and their stories with sports,
So
but
you're asking me the best athlete who I've interviewed, or
yeah,
like
or best non-athlete as an athlete.
best non-athlete as an athlete? So I did a little series. The story of that is that I worked for ESPN Magazine for a while. They moved up to Bristol, Connecticut, where the ESPN operations were. I stayed in New York City because I my wife has a great job, and I just didn't want to move.
Right.
Um, and after I lost my job in 2012 or 13, I started freelancing for a new website that had popped up on ESPN, and I was asked to interview folks about. I think either I pitched this or the editor pitched this. He's like, I want to talk to celebrities who are actually really good at sports and ask them just how good were they at sports. And Jason Sudeikis is probably the answer. Um, and Jason Sudeikis was really good in basketball in high school, and you see there's a skit that he does on SNL with LeBron James where he like takes it to him with layup. And I got to ask him about that. I actually walked around New York City with Jason Sudeikis for an hour and a half. where I gave him
Probably the
my
greatest hour and a half of all time.
well, it was incredible. And I gave him my you can't see it in here, but my tape recorder, and he stuck it in his pocket. And every 15 minutes, I'd be like, "Can I just grab that from your pocket? Just make sure it's on. Okay, good, it's on. Okay, good." It was
We're not losing any of this.
right. Yeah, no, it was amazing. He was so cordial and nice about it, and he was very serious about it too. That was a really cool thing about him is like he took basketball seriously, and he played in like the NBA Celebrity All Star Game and stuff. And so like I think it was kind of I hope for him fun to talk about. This is pre Ted Lasso. This is while he's still on SNL, and I think it was really cool to be able to have that experience. And that's one of those memorable ones where you're trying to pinch yourself and be like, this is just an amazing thing. But you have to be very professional about it. So yeah, I think that's the best answer I can come up with.
That's awesome. And I was wondering, kind of more generally, working at ESPN, obviously kind of the pinnacle of the sports world. What were the best like lessons you took away from that? And what was it like going from there to USA Today? And what lessons were you able to take into your leadership roles at USA Today?
Sure. Great questions all around. The thing that I learned from ESPN was sort of the basics, I guess, of sort of like how to pitch stories in an environment full of really smart people. I came in there with not a lot of experience. I was mainly a fact checker to start, and that's kind of where you start at the bottom. And I started asking around, like, how do I get clips? How do I write? Because that's really the sort of the currency of the journalism world, right? If you can say I've been published in ESPN the magazine, I've been published on ESPN.com, I've been published, go down the list. That's valuable. People say, "Oh, that means that you're a good writer and that you have good ideas." But I was in a room full of some of the smartest people in journalism, and still, the people at that magazine have gone on to really amazing things. And I just remember a few times like coming up with ideas and going up to the editors that handle it. And one time, this is a fun story. The Mainly the story of journalism for me, and I think my advice for other people is sometimes you're going to make mistakes and you have to because you'll learn from them and it's just going to happen. And so I'd seen some story about what was called the car of tomorrow. It was a NASCAR thing that they were like creating a new kind of car that I think was both safe and like aerodynamically different. And I was like, ooh, maybe I could do a little cool, fun, funky story about that for the front of the magazine, which was where the sort of the fun, cool stuff was. And I emailed the editor and he was like, come over to my desk. And he came over and he let me down really gently, but he was like, listen, like we have a full-time motorsports writer and he knows 50 billion more things about motorsports than you do. And I'd probably lean on him for that. But I'm really glad that you emailed and I think you should like keep pitching. And so I sent all kinds of editors, all kinds of stuff, and finally ended up with my name in the magazine, which was really amazing. But it taught me how to kind of both face rejection, how to keep trying, but also how to be way more creative and take different angles because that's where people wanted you to go. And eventually I found an editor there who was like tapping my weird sports brain and weird sports angles to kind of do that. And then I brought that ethos with me too. I keep using the word ethos over to USA Today because
English
for the
major.
win,
Haverford word.
Haverford
there
English
you go.
major, very
Yeah,
typical. Yeah.
go figure. I brought it up with USA Today because for the win, where we can get into that whenever. Where I manage now, I brought my weird brain with me, and it's what that site's all about. So that was kind of cool. Great questions.
I think it's going to be interesting for me as an aspiring journalist. I know Chris is going to go into this shit a little bit too, but it's going to be interesting because we are in an environment like Haverford that's like very progressive, but they're also very respectful and nice about their ideas and facing rejection. We don't really face rejection that much for our article ideas, maybe like some reshaping or like being told, I mean, yeah, like that's all right, but maybe there's something.
I
Yeah,
suggest you
yeah.
take out this comma,
Yeah, yeah. It's
but if you don't
it's
want to, it's
grammatical
okay.
errors and stuff like that. Yeah, if you don't want to, it's okay. But it's gonna be a very different environment whenever we are like actually with real jobs. I'm like, listen, like there's someone who knows way more than you do, and I'm gonna go talk to him. I don't need to go talk to you. But that was pretty cool, but nice try. Yeah.
Yeah, it
That's
happened.
yeah, that's nice to know and nice to be reassured about.
Yeah.
So, um, I had another quick question now moving on to the the NJ reporter. I did a little LinkedIn research and I
That's good.
found
Yeah.
I found I found that there's some funny one of the funnier parts I read, and I was just thinking in my head, was the polls research, and obviously that time period from 2013 to 2016, my poll questions in my head were like, how are you feeling about the team sucking right now? Like, what were the polls questions like looking like at the
Oh
time?
yeah.
Well, the
Oh no,
Mets didn't suck. The Mets didn't suck though.
the Mets didn't suck.
The
No,
Mets didn't
that
suck.
was quite a time. Yeah.
Draft Odell.
Yeah.
You drafted
Uh,
Odell. Okay.
so you're asking kind of like what was it like
Wait,
to
what were
write
the?
for that?
I guess what's it like to write for them? But it was kind of like a little parody question, like just so.
I'm sorry.
No,
Now I get
no,
it. No, I no, I yeah. Some of the stuff I was writing for them was like the funny, um, viral stuff, and it was all about. That was where I learned how to like point my sort of lens toward audience, where you're thinking about like the NJ.com audience was very engaged and was very opinionated, like most are, but like about their local sports teams. And so occasionally I'd write a poll. It's like, how worried are you about the Mets? And you'd get
no. Okay, I
you
wasn't
get like
far
a
off.
you know you weren't. You get like a three, and then the comment section would be like, Charles, let me tell you, the pitching, my God. And you'd sort of respond back like, I totally feel you, man, because I was a Mets fan too, and I still am. But you'd sit there and be like, yeah, I totally understand. They'd be like, no, you don't understand. You know, it was great. That was really fun.
That's.
Another funny question. I like that one. More funny
I'm
questions.
glad
You hit that
I
right.
told I said it was the first thing I thought. I was like, what is it? Was it like the Giants, like post
Giants.
Super Bowl era? You guys suck. Like,
Oh
what are we gonna
God, yeah.
do?
No, it's tough time. Tough time. Yeah.
Still is. It
BY
still
still
is.
in.
Still is. Yeah.
Yeah. But we just wanted to go back to further win. Obviously, you just got promoted to managing editor,
Woo!
and it's awesome.
Haverford represent.
Let's go.
Represent.
And I'm just
Thank you.
curious about how you're putting your footprint on that organization and what's changed since you've gotten there.
Goodness, so much. You know, I don't know if I'm putting my footprint. I guess it's a little bit of the Haverford in
Yes,
me.
you are.
I
We
understand.
see how you write, and you're definitely putting your footprint.
I think what I'm trying to do, I guess, is to help. It's hard to say. There's been a lot of changes in journalism world since I started for the win, and I think what I'm trying to do is to keep people, keep our writers and editors and everybody just focused on finding the angles that aren't the straight sports talk angles, I guess is the way I'm thinking about it, is like there's so much going on the internet every single day. And you're trying to find the stories that is talking about. And you're trying to find stories that maybe they don't know about that you want to bring to their attention. And I think the thing that I want to always bring is not the straight angle. It's the let's find different ways into stories, because that's really where we thrive because we've got, USA Today proper. USA Today Sports is going to cover the breaking news when it happens. How are we going to do the other 5 to 10 angles that fans also want to know about? And how do we put our own spin on it? And how do we have voice? That's really the thing that I'm pleased to bring with me from job to job is my voice, and then elevating the voices on our site, and we're lucky to be able to do that, right? Because there's some operations, I'm not naming names or anything, but I think there's certain sites where voice is, it's not voicey enough, and that to me is the future of the internet is or maybe it's the present is voice. It's like have your voice and be real and we always say like don't fake it because people will call you out and they'll notice if you're
You told
faking
me
it.
that. You told me that a couple months ago.
There you
Awesome.
go.
Yep,
There
you
you
did.
go.
I remember.
Yeah, I just wanted to say like you've got like now you've got AI and like Sports Illustrated got exposed for using it, and I think voices are more important than ever.
And you, like you said, you can't fake it. Like I can tell when you write, and at least other pieces and for the win, like you guys are having fun. Like that's
Yeah.
something you could actually see within the writing, like through just how you're talking. You're talking like it's a normal person talking. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. Thank you. That's the goal. That's the real goal. And we're lucky to be able to do that. That was carved out for us before, those of us who I started 8 years ago. The site was already, I think, 3 years old at that point. And so,
wow,
you
yeah.
walk in day one, you're like, all right, I can be me. That's really amazing.
I think along with the quality of your writing, something me and Chris have been talking about for the last couple of weeks is the quantity of your writing and how often you put out articles and things like that. And obviously, knowing you're a Mets fan, honestly, One of my favorite documentaries, I'm a big documentary person. One of my favorite documentaries is the 86 Mets documentary, 30 for 30. And
Yes.
I was thinking to myself, I told Chris this like 30 minutes ago. I was like, there's that scene where Keith Hernandez is sipping his coffee with Adderall. He's about to go out there. And I'm like, is Charles Curtis there with him? I mean, because he's out here putting out so many articles. Is he out there with them? Is he with Daryl and Keith taking Adderall and coffee, and then Daryl and they're like, "Oh, I see you, Charles, that you're going out writing all these articles." I I'm curious, what what's your I guess what's your secret for being able to put out content so fast? Even though they're your articles are not like the least the ones that you put out very fast. They're not like super complex. It's kind of like a fact blurb and then that's it. But I'm just
Yeah.
curious, what's your secret to still being able to put out so much?
Oh, I don't know, man. It's work ethic. I don't know I don't know
Oh,
what it is. But no, I'm
oh
kidding. I
man,
mean, I
it could
think
be the
honest.
Adderall too. You never know.
Oh God, no. It's funny. I don't drink coffee.
Yeah,
I don't drink coffee, which is everyone's like, how do you do it? I'm like, I don't know, man. I woke up at 6:30 in the morning when I had to go to high school, and I was just like, all right, I'm up. I'm ready to go. I don't know whatever it is inside me. I think it's just being used to sort of the rhythm of what I do. We work in
right.
shifts, so I'm the one who turns on the lights in the morning. Like I'm up at like 6:30 ish. I've looked at night before kind of what's happened. Sometimes I'll wake up in the morning and suddenly something will have happened in an NFL trade, a crazy play at the end of Thursday Night Football, a baseball fight, whatever it might be that happened sort of between when I went to bed and when I woke up. And some of that is just experience, honestly. Like I've spent the last 8 years getting faster and faster because I'm just so used to just the rhythm of it, right? I don't know if that's a good explanation or an
Yeah,
answer.
you're in the flow of this by eight
It's
years
that's
now.
what it
Yeah,
is. Yeah,
this
it's
is your
really
life. Yeah, I get it.
right. Yeah, it's just, it's sort of, and I'm not reinventing anything. I'm merely just sometimes I'm literally like, here's the clip, here's why it's important. Here are a bunch of links to our site that give further explanation or other sites. Let's make sure it has good search engine optimization. I've got that. And then it's like, boom, boom, boom. Let's go out, 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 because sometimes speed is the thing. I don't know. Maybe this was not the healthiest thing in the world, but on a Friday night a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago, I was home getting ready for bed, and all of a sudden my phone started blowing up because I'm an Knicks fan. And they were like, "Cat." It's
Oh,
like, what? Carl Anthony Towns? No way. And nobody else was on. We normally have somebody on, but they were on vacation. And I was like, we
Got
gotta.
to come out
You,
now.
know,
It's got to come out.
you gotta do it. So I wrote a trade grade as well. Like it was like you know A+ for the whatever it was, and it's just you got to get it out quick. And so I think just that competition in me or speed, I guess, if I'm being psychological, is just it's like beating everybody else to the punch is a really cool thing. I'm competitive. What can I say? But
I think it's
it's
for
the job, and
sports.
Yeah,
I
it
love
sounds
sports,
like
and I remember like you mentioned cat. I have to jump in here. I remember getting that notification too, and I was like, oh we got cat, let's go. And then it's yeah, Randall's traded.
yeah,
then it's
Chen's
the
there. I'm like,
opener. Then it's the opener and 12
like
points.
come
Yeah.
on.
right.
Uh,
Well, give him
it's
time.
definitely not a
Give him
lose lose, but we won't get
But
into the too
yeah,
much.
I mean, just to
You
kind of
guys
try to
know.
answer your question, I
Just
think
got to give it time.
it's just what the job sometimes entails. And as managing editor now, I've got to kind of balance it a little bit better, and that's something I'm working on. Sometimes when you transfer from like a different job to another job, you're sort of you're sort of between those two things where you're sort of still doing the old thing and trying to do the new thing. So that's something I'm working on. But I think we have a unbelievably great staff of writers and editors who are just so talented and know how to do some of that similar stuff. And sometimes it's more in depth. Sometimes it's like, hey, take an hour and write something longer and write something more in depth or whatever it might be. So it's not just these small bites, but sometimes in the morning when you're trying to start up the site and people are reading like, hey, what happened the night before? They want those quick bites to be like, oh, I see. I missed that last night. Here's the thing that highlights that.
That's awesome. I think one last piece I want to touch on with the Mets and the idea I brought up. Obviously, people can find this on your page, but I'm curious for myself, the story, the foul ball story. I mean, I haven't, 35,000 fans cussing at you is a pretty fun thing. It sounds like you haven't gotten over it either, because the
No,
parentheses,
absolutely not.
the
So
parentheses of it, it's still haunting him to this day, basically, it
um,
is a great bio.
for, for your listeners or viewers, it's in my bio on my For the Win author page. It's like Charles Curtis once almost caught a foul ball at Shea Stadium and got booed when he missed it. So the story is huge Mets fan, went to, hundreds of games, I imagine. I was sitting down the left field line, and a guy hits it was a righty hit a foul ball, so it's curving toward me. Literally, all I have to do is step out of my seat into the aisle, take a step forward, and I had a glove. Had a glove,
Oh no.
okay? Had a glove, and all I had to do was catch it. And I'm a decent athlete. I played intramural basketball at Haverford College, mind you. Intramural,
IBB, IBB Pro.
whatever. So this ball is coming toward me, and I think the message in my brain was like, "That's coming in kind of fast." Oh crap, you know. And I just remember it coming, and I just remember turning my head at the last minute or last second, and I felt the ball come right off the top of my glove and looked back, and went backwards, and then I turn around like this, and the whole stadium is booing me. The whole
Oh,
stadium.
that's
Boo.
surreal. I
Boo.
I've read that bio like I think several times when I looked at your work. I I did not realize you were wearing a glove. That changes
I,
things.
I should have mentioned that, right?
I I
So
apply that bio to all of the reading as well. I'm like, all right, I know I'm reading about a guy who was booed by 35,000 people.
yeah, and so for the rest of the game, I was with my dad. I sat down sheepishly. People would come by and razz me, which is like totally. I'm in New York, whatever. I understand. I'm a New Yorker myself. I get it. Like, people would grab my glove and be like, "Where's the hole in here? What happened?" They'd be like, "Oh, we're sending you down, man." Like worse, and it was wonderful. It was great. It was just hilarious, and I could have been cheered by 35,000 fans because they cheer that when you catch a ball. But
Well, chances are,
it builds character. Builds character.
chances are, if you caught that, we wouldn't be talking about that
Yeah,
right
exactly.
now. So
There you go. And it's
that's a
it's
good
it's stuck with
story.
me. Yeah, yeah. Maybe it prepared me for the internet where sometimes you get booed by 35,000 people.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Now, the Mets just lost,
Mhm.
and who are you rooting for? Are you rooting for the rivals across?
Yankees.
No,
No,
well, no, not go Yankees, go Dodgers. But I'm asking him. I'm not
Pirates
asking
fan.
you. I'm a Pirates fan, but I was born in Los Angeles, so this is my excuse to be a Dodgers fan for the time being. And dude, there's a Haverford alum as the scout of the team. Oh,
that's a good point.
yeah, sorry.
I will say this,
Haverford alum on the Yankees.
Not anymore. He's not on the
not
Yankees.
anymore. Yeah.
What?
Well, yeah, whatever, dude.
Um, I don't know. Should I give the diplomatic answer? I mean, here's my thing. It's like I grew up in the time when the Yankees were really, 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 really good. The dynasty Yankees, and then 2000 freshman at Haverford, I had to watch the Subway Series, and it was awful. Um, but I'll give you the journalist answer. We root for a good series. We root for this is Shohei Ohtani against Aaron Judge. I mean, you can't ask for a better matchup.
Really,
Um,
yeah, you cannot.
I'll give you my prediction. I think it's Dodgers in six because I think they're built closer than
Yes.
I think the Yankees
Yes.
have flaws in their pitching that give me concern for
Great
them.
answer. Great
And
answer.
that
Game
I mean, I
starts
just
in like
watched.
30 minutes. It's a
I
great
think the
answer.
Dodgers are built for this. Like I
Knock on
just
wood.
watched them buzzsaw through the Mets with a bullpen game, and their bullpen is like six deep, and you can't argue with that in the playoffs. Like plain and simple. And their lineup is pretty solid, top to bottom. And you're never going to keep Shohei Ohtani down because he's Shohei Ohtani. Mets tried. They got
It's like
close.
78%. It's like 0.78 with a guy on base. The
Oh,
hitting
oh,
is
yeah,
ridiculous.
yeah.
Yeah.
He got hit.
Yeah, he got a homer. He got a homer in the first inning of game 4 or 5, one of those two. Yeah.
I'm
So,
not. I mean, I'm obviously biased, but I'm gonna say Yankees in six. They win it at Yankee Stadium just because I
because
think
you
that.
want a happy ending.
I mean, I think the Dodgers might have a better all-around team, but Judge, Stanton, Soto. I don't think I think that trio, if they perform, is like unstoppable.
Shohei, Mookie, Freeman,
Freeman,
Hernandez, Muncy, Lux, Hernandez,
Soto,
Edmund,
Soto.
who just won NLCS. We're not doing this. Anyway, we're also midway through the NFL season. I'm curious if you had any sleeper teams or any fakers as well. Don't say the Steelers are fakers, please, because we just had a
No,
great
no.
pass
I
game.
think the Steelers are going to make a trade in the next week for a wide receiver. Like all you've heard is like that they're in on every receiver who's available. So I
Yeah,
think it's
they were saying Cooper Cup last night, but he caught a touchdown and they
he's
won.
done. Yeah,
So
that's not happening.
yeah, I don't think that's
Sleeper
happening.
teams,
Yeah,
John.
no, it's not
Let
happening.
me think about that. That's a great question. Yeah, let me think about like I mean the
The
Rams
Vikings
last
may be fakers now too.
I go back and forth with them. Which is troubling, right? Like
Right.
I'm like the defense really going to keep this up. Um, or is it going to be like the case where this offense will, they've got one of the best receivers in the game? Sleeper teams, huh? I will say, looking, I now have to look over the team so I can like keep this in my head. I think the Packers. I mean, they're 5-2, so you really can't say they're a sleeper team.
Right.
I still am a believer in the Bucks, which is so weird because I'm saying that right after their two receivers got taken down with injuries. But I still believe that team is in like a wild card, win a playoff game kind of team, which is weird because Baker Mayfield is. But like, I love their offense and their defense. They've been up and down, but I think they're a team that I could see, punching their card to the postseason and doing something. That's just something about them. Just a feeling I get.
Yeah. Another debate right now is, the fact that Lamar, like at least in the betting world right now, is like, I mean, he's ridiculously favored to win his third MVP. Now, do you give him that MVP knowing that there's like a very good chance he won't beat Mahomes, or has it just a poor playoff record? Like this is now like a regular season award, obviously. And you could just think about Peyton in general. Peyton only has two compared to Tom. You could have just given Tom about eight MVPs if we're going based off of success past the first 16 to slash 17 games of the year.
Yeah. I mean, Lamar's on another universe right now, right? Like he
Yeah.
is finally. You always said like, well, what about him as a passer? And all that. That's
Well,
here
no, he's
now.
a passer. I'm not even disrespecting him. I actually get
Yeah,
as a diehard Steelers fan, I get in fights with people defending Lamar, which is actually
yeah.
kind of uncharacteristic. So
As you should. No, respect
I
him because
respect I respect it. I respect it.
good, good. I like to hear that because I think it's a no brainer right now as we're talking that Lamar is clearly heads and tails above everybody. The playoff thing, it's a thing, and but the Chiefs are the thing about the Chiefs is like, where's all that talk about Kelsey struggling now, right? And they just made a trade for DeAndre Hopkins, and you know, they might get Isaiah Pacheco back at some point. Like that team is just coasting and they are very happy to coast and they're very happy to keep winning games with Mahomes struggling. And he is. I mean, he's not having the best of seasons, but it doesn't matter. And that's the
Yeah,
thing
it's
about
just he just figures out how to win.
Makes the
Yeah,
play.
yeah, they just
it
win
is.
games. That's all. And that's Andy Reid. Like he
Yeah.
just wins games, and then we'll talk in January, right? Like they're just you wait. There's going to be a playoff game or two where Kelsey's going to end up with 12 catches and he'll be fresh and he'll be fine. And it's like, what are we all worried about here? So the answer is, yeah, like it's a regular season award. So Lamar can win it all he wants, but he's got to prove it in the playoffs. And that's true for everybody in the NFL.
Right. All right. Well, last question that I have is a pretty funny question. I'm a 1-6 fantasy team right now, and
Mm.
I'm struggling. I'm probably not going to make the playoffs. I'm actually not going to make the playoffs because it's a
Wait,
four-team
so
format, which is really stupid. But
Oh,
2% chance.
brutal.
I have a 1% chance, 1% chance to make the playoffs. All right. I need advice, and everyone can hear this. So I have three really, really good running backs, and I've seen your fantasy posts, and I respect them. Actually, I think I sent you an email saying I took your advice. Um,
Sorry.
no, no, I think it worked out for me. I forgot what advice it was, but I think it probably worked out for me. Anyway, I have three really good power backs. I have Gibbs, Aaron Jones, and Joe Mixon, who all give me at least 15 to 20 a week. But
Very good.
I had Jameson Williams and I had Shaheed, who's now out for the season. So
Yeah.
my wide receivers now are DeAndre Hopkins. I picked him up off of waivers, and I don't think he's going to do that much though. It's just like, and I think, and I
Yeah.
anyway, yeah, DeAndre Hopkins, and I have who's my wide receiver too? I don't. It's not Tyler Lockett. It's Tyler Lockett. It's Tyler Lockett. Now, do I have to trade one of my running backs? Oh
100%. Yeah.
man.
Oh,
Oh
yeah.
man.
Yeah, that's
Trade
what
Aaron Jones.
I was telling
That's my
you.
advice. Trade Aaron Jones before he gets hurt. That's all I got.
I was saying if you hold
All
on to
right. Yeah.
three
All
running
right.
backs,
All
no
right.
one's gonna hurt.
That was
That's where I go. But you're trading him like at a high right now because I he's at a later age where you kind of worry about
all
that.
right. I'm going to trade him. I'm going to
There
trade
you
him.
go. Yeah.
I'm not trading you. I'm not trading with you. Yeah. All right. Well, not Mr. Curtis, Charles, thanks so much, man. We really appreciate you for being on the podcast. It means a lot to have Haverford alumni come on the show.
Yeah,
Uh,
and yeah, before we ended, I just want to say really appreciate your advice from the past too. You came to talk at Haverford freshman year about starting the clerk sports section, things like that.
yeah, I missed
So
you there. I
yeah,
didn't even meet you.
appreciate
Yeah, it sucks.
Yeah. Oh no,
No.
I'm really happy to be here, and I'm really proud to see that sports journalism is a thing still that people, at Haverford want to do that. And I think that's something that I like want for the college, and I'm happy to see that. And I'm happy to see a podcast with a big crew and all that stuff. That's really awesome. And keep going.
Yeah,
That's all I got.
we're sort of the lone stars, but we're gonna
What
keep
happens
on
when you
keeping on.
graduate?
Yeah, what happens when we graduate, we don't know, but we're just gonna ride this out
Pass that
for the
torch.
next two
Find somebody.
years.
Somebody's got to be. Again, like
No,
someone
yeah,
count me.
there's people on the staff who want to take over after this,
There you
so
go.
it'll be all right, hopefully.
Happy to talk to you guys anytime. This is a pleasure.
I appreciate you a lot, man. Thank you. All right, we'll tune in for more Day After Saturday coverage soon. Peace.